Admiral Kim's reflection stared back at her from the darkened view screen after the alien diplomat's message ended. Her uniform felt suddenly heavier on her shoulders. The Earth Security Council chamber remained silent, the weight of rejection pressing down on everyone present. Outside the windows of the orbital station, Earth shone blue and green below them. 300 years of reaching for the stars, only to be told they weren't welcome. "They didn't even give us a proper reason this time," Defense Minister Park said, breaking the silence. The older man's voice shook slightly. 3 centuries of peaceful contact, trade agreements and diplomatic missions, all for nothing. Admiral Kim remained still, but her hands clenched at her sides. "They fear us, always have." She thought of her grandfather's stories about the first contact with the Galactic Council. The initial excitement, the promise of advancement. Then came the endless series of tests, evaluations, and assessments. The moving goalposts, the subtle suggestions that humans were too unpredictable, too emotional, too independent-minded. President Lee pushed her chair back and stood. She was a small woman, but her presence filled the room. "I've heard enough excuses from the Council to last several lifetimes. Perhaps it's time they had reason to fear us after all." She looked directly at Kim. "Admiral, you have full authorization for Project Defiance." The word sent a shock through the room. Project Defiance had been theoretical until now. A contingency plan developed in secret, funded through black budgets and hidden research programs. A warship unlike any humanity had built before. "Madam President," the economic advisor began, "the resources required will be provided." President Lee cut him off. "The United Earth government has been patient. We've played by their rules. We've waited while worlds far less advanced than our own were granted council membership." Her eyes swept the room. "Their rejection isn't just an insult. It's a security threat. Human ships banned from council space means we lose access to established trade routes, diplomatic channels, and protective alliances." Kim nodded grimly. "I'll need the best crew possible. People who think differently. The council races have military doctrine that hasn't changed in millennia. We need minds that can create strategies they've never seen." "You'll have them," President Lee promised. "Begin crew selection immediately. The shipyards at Ceres will be notified to prepare for construction." She looked around the table. "The council has made their choice. Now we make ours." After the meeting, Kim walked alone through the station's curved corridors. Crew members saluted as she passed, unaware of the momentous decision just made. Through the viewports, she could see council ships in the distance, elegant, crystalline structures that seemed to float effortlessly in space. Beautiful, but predictable. Their designs hadn't changed significantly in generations. Her communication device beeped. A message from Jun, her second in command. "Ready when you are." Kim entered her office and secured the door. The room transformed as holographic displays activated, showing personnel files and technical schematics that had been developed in secret for years. "Begin crew selection protocol," she commanded. The computer responded immediately, filtering through thousands of service records. Special attention to creative problem solvers, tactical innovators, technical geniuses with unorthodox approaches. Kim stopped on a file. Commander Yun, Tactical Officer. Notes indicated disciplinary issues for excessive creativity in battle simulations. 3 reprimands for strategies that violated established doctrine, but achieved unprecedented success rates. "Flag for interview," she said, moving to the next file. Engineer Juan. Twice passed over for promotion, despite revolutionary propulsion theories. Deemed too experimental by his superiors. Flagged for interview. The pattern continued as she worked through the night. Brilliant misfits, innovators the rigid military structure hadn't known how to handle. People like her, who saw beyond established limits. By morning, she had her core team selected. 100 specialists who would form the heart of Project Defiance. Her communication device beeped again. A priority message from intelligence. Kim opened it and froze. Council ships were moving to establish blockades at key points surrounding human territory, not openly aggressive, but clearly positioning themselves. The rejection wasn't just political. They were preparing to contain humanity. Kim forwarded the intelligence to President Lee with a simple message: "We need to move faster." The response came almost immediately. "The resources are yours." "How long?" Kim looked at the schematics for the Defiance. The ship would incorporate technologies the Council had dismissed as theoretical or impractical. Human innovation they had underestimated. 18 months, she replied. Maybe less. She stood at the viewport, watching distant Council ships maneuver. They moved with practiced precision, following patterns established over thousands of years. Predictable. The Council believed they knew humanity's capabilities. They thought they had humanity safely evaluated, categorized, and dismissed. Kim allowed herself a small smile. The aliens had studied human history, human conflicts, human weapons, but they had never seen what humans could build when truly motivated. "Computer, send transport request. I'm heading to Ceres." She gathered her materials. Project Defiance would begin immediately. As she left her office, Kim thought about the Council's dismissal. 300 years of rejection. 300 years of being told humans weren't ready, weren't stable enough, weren't trustworthy enough. The Council had made their final decision without realizing they had never actually seen what humans were truly capable of. They would learn soon enough. The asteroid belt stretched like a river of rocks between Mars and Jupiter. Here, among countless tumbling stones, humanity had built its greatest secret. The construction facility blended perfectly with the larger asteroids. Special materials absorbed scanner signals, and strategic positioning kept it hidden from regular shipping lanes. For 14 months, the facility had worked day and night. Thousands of engineers, technicians, and construction specialists lived in this isolated outpost, all sworn to secrecy. Admiral Kim pushed off from the airlock, floating through zero gravity toward the massive ship taking shape before her. The ESS Defiance hung in the center of the construction bay, its dark hull reflecting minimal light. Unlike the sleek, ornate vessels of the Council races, the Defiance was angular and functional. Its lines spoke of purpose rather than beauty. "Magnificent, isn't she?" Chief Engineer Choi said, drifting alongside her. He had barely slept in months, but his eyes were bright with excitement. "Will it work?" Kim asked bluntly. Choi smiled. At 63, he was older than most of the crew, with gray hair that floated around his head in the zero gravity. Better than the Council could imagine. They maneuvered through an open maintenance hatch into the heart of the ship. Inside, teams of workers moved with practiced efficiency, installing systems and testing connections. "The phase shift drive is unlike anything they've seen," Choi explained, pride evident in his voice as they floated toward the massive engine room. "The Council races dismissed our approach as primitive theoretics. Their loss." Kim had read the reports but wanted to hear it directly from Choi. "Explain it again." Choi gestured toward the enormous ring structure that dominated the engine room. "The Council's ships tear through space, forcing their way from point to point. Brute force. We're taking a different approach." He motioned to a technician who activated a holographic display. "Instead of pushing against space, we shift slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. The ship exists partially in a parallel dimensional state, allowing us to move through regular space as if it were less substantial. Like walking through a crowd by stepping slightly to the side," Kim said. "Exactly. The Council's scientists rejected the theory because their mathematical models couldn't account for it. They'd been using the same propulsion technology for thousands of years. They stopped looking for alternatives." Kim studied the engine with narrowed eyes. "And the tactical applications?" Choi's smile widened. "We can phase through solid objects if needed. Their weapons are designed to hit targets fully present in normal space. We'll be partially elsewhere, and we can appear and disappear from sensors at will." "How soon until we're operational?" Kim asked. Before Choi could answer, The entire structure shuddered. Alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Kim grabbed a handhold to steady herself as emergency lights flashed red. "Report," she barked into her communicator. Lieutenant Baz's voice came through the comm, tense and urgent. "Admiral, a Zalaxian scout ship just worked away. They were watching us." Kim's expression darkened. The Zalaxians were the Council's military enforcers, a species that had willingly transformed themselves over generations to become perfect soldiers. How long were they there? What did they see? "Unknown, Admiral," Bay responded. "Our outer sensors detected them only as they engaged their warp drive. They must have been using advanced cloaking technology." Kim turned to Choi. "They know. Accelerate the timeline. We launch in 48 hours. The chief engineer's face paled. "Admiral, we still need at least 2 weeks to complete final systems integration and testing. The weapon systems are only at 70% capacity and We don't have 2 weeks, Kim cut him off. "If the Zalaxians report back to the Council, they'll send a fleet. This facility and everyone in it will be destroyed, and Earth will be labeled a treaty violator." She pushed off toward the exit. "Get every crew member aboard. Strip the facility of anything useful. We launch in 48 hours, ready or not." As Kim propelled herself back toward the command center, she passed dozens of workers already rushing to accelerate their tasks. The news spread quickly. Some faces showed fear, others determination. In the command center, her core officers had already gathered. Tactical Officer Yun was reviewing defense protocols while Communications Specialist Min coordinated the accelerated loading schedule. "Status report," Kim demanded as she entered. "We're recalling all off-duty personnel," Commander Yun reported. "Security teams are on full alert, but if a Zalaxian battle group arrives, our fixed defenses won't hold them for long." "They won't attack immediately," Kim said. "First, they'll send a diplomatic message condemning us for treaty violations. They'll demand inspection rights and disarmament. It's their standard procedure. That gives us a small window." She called up the holographic display of the Defiance. "What's our minimum requirement for launch capability?" Choi had followed her to the command center. "Life support is operational. Navigation systems are at 93%. The phase shift drive can function, but I wouldn't recommend extended use without further calibration." "And weapons?" Kim asked. "Point defense systems are online. Main weapons need another 36 hours minimum." Kim nodded. "Prioritize essential systems only. Anything we can finish in space, we will." She looked around the room at the officers she had personally selected from throughout Earth's defense forces. "This isn't how we planned our launch, but we always knew this project carried risks." She straightened her uniform. "Send word to Earth. Inform President Lee that we've been discovered and are advancing our timeline. Request delay tactics through diplomatic channels if possible." As her officers rushed to carry out orders, Kim stared at the holographic image of the Defiance. Not fully tested, not fully armed. But they had no choice now. "It will have to be enough," she whispered to herself, watching as the countdown timer appeared on all screens. 48 hours until humanity's response to exile would be revealed to the galaxy. The Defiance had been operational for just 12 days. 12 days of rushed system checks, hasty crew training, and emergency repairs. They had managed to escape the asteroid belt mere hours before a Zalaxian battle group arrived to destroy the construction facility. Now they orbited Earth in a higher position than standard defense platforms, hidden by their experimental cloaking technology. Admiral Kim hadn't slept properly since the launch. She stood on the bridge, sipping the bitter synthetic coffee that had become her primary source of nutrition. The bridge crew worked quietly around her, each focused on mastering systems that hadn't existed until recently. "Admiral," Sensor Officer Nam called out, "I'm detecting an unscheduled warp signature approaching Earth." Kim placed her cup in the holder. Classification: unknown design, small vessel, significant damage to outer hull. Nam adjusted his controls. It's not broadcasting any identification codes. On screen, Kim ordered. The main view screen showed a small ship appearing at the edge of Earth's defense perimeter. It moved erratically, trailing debris and venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. Its design was unfamiliar, not human, nor any common Council configuration. Life signs? Kim asked. Multiple readings. Non-human biosignatures. Nam looked up from his console with surprise. They appear to be Taurian. The bridge crew exchanged glances. The Taurians were among the oldest Council races, reptilian beings known for their strict adherence to galactic laws. They rarely ventured outside Council space, and never to Earth. They're broadcasting a distress signal, Communications Officer Song reported. Audio only. Let's hear it, Kim said. A strained voice filled the bridge, crackling with static. Request emergency asylum. Pursued by Zolaxian forces. Violation of Council Charter. Please respond. Before Kim could reply, Nam's console flashed urgent warnings. Admiral, 3 ships just warped in. Zolaxian heavy cruisers, weapons charging. Battle stations. Kim ordered calmly. Maintain cloak. Let's see what they do first. The crew moved with disciplined efficiency despite having never faced actual combat. The Defiance's systems hummed as power redirected to defensive capabilities. The view screen showed 3 sleek, predatory vessels taking position around the damaged Taurian ship. Their hulls gleamed with the characteristic metallic sheen of Zolaxian design, weapons ports glowing with building energy. They're broadcasting to Earth, Song reported. Putting it through. A Zolaxian commander appeared on screen. His gray skin was marked with the ceremonial scarification of high military rank, eyes modified for enhanced targeting capability. Attention Earth authorities. This is Commander Han of the Zolaxian Enforcement Fleet. The vessel in your space contains fugitives from Council justice. Surrender them immediately or face disciplinary action for harboring criminals against the Council. President Lee's voice responded from Earth Command. This is President Lee of the United Earth Government. The vessel has requested asylum under interstellar refugee protocols. We request evidence of their alleged crimes. Han's expression hardened. Earth has no standing to request evidence. You are not Council members. You will comply or face consequences. Kim leaned forward. Earth's standard defenses were formidable, but 3 Zolaxian heavy cruisers could inflict significant damage before being neutralized. Open a secure channel to the Taurian vessel, she instructed Song quietly. Moments later, a Taurian appeared on a secondary screen. His scaled face showed signs of injury, one eye swollen shut. Behind him, other Taurians worked frantically to repair systems. This is Admiral Kim of Earth Forces. Identify yourself and explain your situation. The Taurian's functioning eye widened. Admiral, I am Captain Sewell of the Taurian science vessel Enlightenment. We did not expect direct communication. He glanced anxiously over his shoulder. We have information vital to Earth's survival. Explain, Kim demanded. The Council is fracturing. The stronger species are subjugating the rest. The Zolaxians and Frexians have staged a quiet coup within the power structure. Sol's voice lowered. Our ship contains research proving they have violated the primary Council charter by attacking neutral worlds. We sought Earth because you are the only ones who stand apart, the only power they haven't influenced or intimidated. Kim considered this information. It aligned with intelligence reports suggesting unusual movement patterns among Council fleets. How did you know to come to us specifically? There are those within the Council who remember Earth's applications, who know you were rejected not for failing to meet criteria, but because certain powers feared your potential. Sol's expression was earnest. We need your help, Admiral. And you need this information. The ship suddenly shook as a warning shot from a Zolaxian cruiser passed nearby. Their weapons are powering to full capacity, Tactical Officer Yan reported. They're moving to surround the Taurian vessel. President Lee's voice came through again. Admiral Kim, what are your recommendations? Kim straightened her back. The Defiance wasn't fully tested. This wasn't the carefully planned first mission they had envisioned, but sometimes history forced your hand. She turned to her executive officer. Status of the Defiance. Commander Jian checked his console. Hull integrity at 85%. Weapons at full capacity. Phase shift drive operational but untested. Then we test it now, Kim decided. All hands to battle stations. She opened a channel to Earth Command. Madam President, request permission to engage Zolaxian forces and protect the Taurian vessel. There was only a brief pause before the response came. Permission granted. Admiral, reveal the Defiance. Kim nodded to her crew. Disengage cloaking. Power all systems to combat readiness. Tactical, prepare intercept course between Zolaxian forces and the Taurian vessel. Throughout the ship, warning klaxons sounded as crew members secured for potential combat. In engineering, Chief Engineer Choi personally monitored the phase shift drive, ready to make emergency adjustments. As the Defiance dropped its cloaking field, the massive human warship materialized between Earth and the Zolaxian cruisers. Its angular hull absorbed rather than reflected light, making it appear like a ship-shaped void against the stars. On the Zolaxian command ship, Commander Han stared in disbelief at the vessel that had appeared from nowhere. It matched no known design, and its sudden appearance defied conventional detection systems. Admiral Kim allowed herself a small smile as she gave the order that humanity had waited 3 centuries to give. Open a channel to the Zolaxian fleet, she said. Let's show the Council what happens when you exile humans. The space between Earth and the 3 Zolaxian warships seemed to ripple like water. Where there had been empty vacuum a moment before, the Defiance now existed. A dark, angular shape against the stars. The human warship had not approached from a distance. It had simply appeared, shifting from non-existence into reality between Earth and its would-be attackers. On the Zolaxian command ship, alarms blared. Commander Han stared at the impossible vessel, with genuine shock distorting his disciplined features. What is that? His second-in-command whispered. The humans have been keeping secrets, Han replied, quickly regaining his composure. Target and destroy it. Now. On the Defiance's bridge, Admiral Kim sat calmly in her command chair. The moment they had prepared for had arrived. Around her, the bridge crew worked with focused intensity, each movement precise despite their racing hearts. The tactical display showed the 3 Zolaxian ships adjusting position, their weapons powering up to maximum capacity. They're targeting our primary systems, Officer Yan reported. Standard Zolaxian attack protocol. Kim's lips curved into a slight smile. Predictable. They're following their 1,000-year-old battle doctrine. She leaned forward. Fire pattern Omega. Yan nodded, entering the commands. Unlike Council vessels, which arranged weapons in symmetrical, balanced configurations, the Defiance's armaments were positioned in what appeared to be random, asymmetrical patterns. Council military theorists would have considered it inefficient, even amateurish. They would have been wrong. The Defiance's weapons fired in a complex sequence that created cascading energy patterns, each shot reinforcing the next. The apparently random arrangement allowed for attack vectors that Council shield systems weren't designed to counter. The first barrage struck the lead Zolaxian ship. Its shields, designed to repel conventional energy weapons, flickered under the unusual attack pattern. The second barrage hit the same points, exploiting resonance weaknesses. On the third coordinated strike, the shields collapsed entirely. Direct hit on Zolaxian flagship, Yem announced, unable to keep pride from his voice. Before they could celebrate, the second Zolaxian cruiser fired. Unlike its commander, the ship had not hesitated. Energy beams sliced through space, catching the Defiance along its port side. The impact threw crew members against their restraints. Lights flickered, and emergency systems activated automatically. Hull breach on decks 5 through 8. Commander Jian reported as the ship shuddered around them. Emergency force fields holding, but we've lost 20% power to the port weapon arrays. Kim gripped her chair arms but kept her expression neutral. Casualties. Medical reports 9 injured. No fatalities. Jun replied after checking his console. Damage control teams responding. The third Zalaxian ship moved to flank the Defiance while the damaged flagship repositioned. They were adapting quickly, coordinating their attack to exploit the damage to the human vessel. Lieutenant Song suddenly straightened at her communication station. Admiral, I've intercepted Council communications. The Zalaxians were ordered to provoke us into firing first. Her voice dropped as she continued scanning the transmission. They're planning to use it as justification to attack all non-member worlds. Kim's eyes narrowed. Record everything. And prepare for pattern Delta. She opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, secure for high maneuvers and prepare for phase shift. Engineering, we need full power to the drive. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Choi barked orders as his team rerouted power. The system isn't rated for combat shifting. We haven't tested the stress tolerances. Then we test them now, came Kim's voice over the comm. Give me everything you've got, Chief. Choi muttered under his breath, then nodded to his team. Maximum power to phase shift drive. May our ancestors watch over us. On the bridge, Kim watched as the Zalaxian ships moved into attack formation. They were coordinating now, preparing a synchronized strike that would overwhelm the Defiance's damaged defenses. Shift drive at maximum, Jun reported. Awaiting your command. Kim studied the tactical display for 3 more seconds, calculating distances and timing. Then, execute pattern Delta. Now. The Defiance suddenly accelerated toward the Lid Zalaxian vessel at speeds that should have been impossible. The wounded flagship attempted to evade, but the human ship moved with unnatural agility. Just before collision seemed inevitable, the Defiance shimmered and partially vanished from normal space. It phase shifted through the Zalaxian vessel, passing through solid matter like a ghost. Inside the Zalaxian ship, crew members watched in horror as the phantom shape of the Earth vessel passed directly through their hull, leaving a trail of electromagnetic disruption in its wake. The Defiance rematerialized on the other side, fully present in normal space again. The phase shift had disrupted the Zalaxian ship's internal systems, leaving it temporarily vulnerable. Fire all operational weapons, Kim ordered calmly. The Defiance's remaining weapons targeted the Zalaxian flagship's propulsion systems with surgical precision. The confused alien ship couldn't realign its weapons or shields fast enough before the Defiance crippled its engines. The damaged Zalaxian vessel hung dead in space, emergency systems flickering. The 2 remaining Zalaxian ships hesitated. Their battle doctrine offered no protocol for this situation. After a brief moment, both ships simultaneously broke formation and jumped to faster-than-light speeds, abandoning their flagship. Silence fell on the Defiance's bridge as the crew processed what had just happened. They had faced 3 Zalaxian warships, the feared enforcers of the Council, and had won. Status report, Kim requested, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. Phase shift drive operating at reduced capacity, Jun reported. Hull breaches contained. Weapons at 60%. The Taurian vessel is secure. Kim nodded, then stood from her command chair. She looked at each member of her bridge crew, seeing the mixture of pride, exhaustion, and disbelief on their faces. Secure the Zalaxian flagship. I want all data from their systems downloaded and analyzed. She turned to the navigation station and plot a course for the Council headquarters. Officer Min looked up in surprise. Admiral, we're damaged and the Council headquarters is at the heart of their territory. We'd be significantly outnumbered, which is why they won't expect us, Kim replied. Besides, we have evidence of their conspiracy now. The Taurian research combined with these intercepted communications proves the Council leadership has violated its own charter. Her expression hardened. We're going to have a word with them. As the crew moved to carry out her orders, Kim walked to the view screen and studied the crippled Zalaxian ship. For 300 years, Humanity had asked politely for a seat at the table. Now they would take one. "Send a message to Earth," she told Communications Officer Song. "Tell them the Defiance is proceeding to Phase 2, and request that President Lee prepare a diplomatic team to follow us." The Defiance's engines glowed as it moved away from Earth orbit, accelerating toward the stars. The ship that wasn't supposed to exist was about to pay an unexpected visit to the Council that had exiled humanity. The journey to the Council headquarters took 6 days. 6 days of repairs, planning, and preparing for either diplomacy or a final stand. The Defiance traveled through space with its phase shift drive operating at minimum capacity, conserving power for what might come. Admiral Kim stood on the bridge as they approached the massive space station that served as the Council's center of government. The structure hung at the junction of 7 major trade routes, a gleaming symbol of galactic unity that had stood for over 5,000 years. "We're being hailed," Communications Officer Song reported. "Multiple Council security vessels demanding we stand down." Kim nodded. "Broadcast the evidence. All channels, all frequencies. Let everyone hear it." Song's fingers moved across her console. "Transmitting now." The Defiance limped into Council space, broadcasting the intercepted communications on all frequencies. The combined evidence from the Taurian research and the Zolaxian communications revealed a systematic conspiracy by the ruling Council species to subjugate non-member worlds. "Admiral," Sensor Officer Nam called out, "I'm detecting ships approaching. Not Council designs." On the view screen, vessels of various configurations appeared, moving to position themselves alongside the Defiance. Kim recognized ships from border worlds, independent colonies, and non-Council species. "They're sending messages of support," Song said, her voice filled with wonder. "Dozens of ships from non-Council worlds rallying to escort us." By the time they reached the Council station, the Defiance led a fleet of over 30 vessels. The Council security ships held their positions, unwilling to fire on such a large group without direct orders. "They've granted us docking permission," Song reported with surprise. "The full Council has been convened for an emergency session." Kim turned to her officers. "Commander Jian, you have the bridge. Lieutenant Yan, Lieutenant Song, you're with me." As they prepared to disembark, Chief Engineer Choi approached. "Admiral, permission to join the delegation. I want to see their faces when they realize what we've built." Kim nodded. "Granted." The Council chamber was vast, designed to impress and intimidate visitors with its soaring architecture and ancient symbols of power. Representatives from 100 worlds sat in concentric rings, with the most powerful species occupying the innermost circle. The human delegation entered through massive doors that opened silently before them. Kim led the way, deliberately still wearing her battle-damaged uniform, scorch marks visible on the sleeve. Whispers spread through the chamber as they walked toward the center. Many representatives had never seen humans in person before. The Vrexian High Counselor, a tall figure with iridescent skin, spoke first. This assembly was called to address the unprovoked human attack on Zolaxian enforcement vessels. "Your actions were in defense of the Taurian science vessel seeking asylum," Kim interrupted, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "And in response to direct evidence of Council corruption." Murmurs rose from the gathered representatives. The Zolaxian Commander Han stood at one side, his face rigid with controlled anger. "For centuries, we sought to join you as equals," Kim stated, her voice echoing through the chamber. "You rejected us for being too unpredictable, too aggressive. Today, those traits saved the Taurian people and exposed your corruption." She gestured, and Lieutenant Song activated a holographic display showing the intercepted communications alongside the Taurian research data. This evidence proves that Council leadership has violated the founding charter. The Zolaxians and Vrexians have been systematically undermining independent worlds, orchestrating conflicts, and blocking membership applications from species they consider threats to their dominance. The chamber erupted in angry shouts and accusations among Council members. Some rose from their seats, demanding explanations from the inner circle representatives. Others called for immediate investigations. Commander Han stepped forward. "This is fabricated evidence from a species desperate to..." "The communications came from your own flagship," Kim cut him off. "A vessel now in Earth custody. Every data core and transmission log has been preserved and authenticated." The chamber grew louder until a deep, resonating sound cut through the noise. The Arcadian High Speaker, oldest of the Council representatives, had activated the ancient chime that called for order. The massive being rose slowly from his seat, his crystalline body structure catching the light as he moved. Arcadians were among the founding species of the Council, their longevity and wisdom respected by all. "I have reviewed the evidence while this chamber argued," the Arcadian's translated voice stated. "It is authentic." Silence fell across the chamber. The Arcadian High Speaker raised his arms for silence as a few voices tried to protest. "The evidence is compelling. The Council leadership has betrayed our founding principles." He turned toward Kim. "Humanity has done us a service. We offer you the membership you sought." Kim felt the weight of the moment. 300 years of human efforts, the dream of joining the galactic community as equals, now within reach. She thought of all the diplomats and leaders who had worked toward this goal, generation after generation. Then she shook her head. "Not yet." Surprised murmurs ran through the chamber. "Instead, I propose a new coalition, one based on mutual respect and protection, one that remembers that sometimes unpredictability and the willingness to fight are virtues, not flaws." Kim looked around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from smaller worlds, those who had suffered under the corruption. The Council was founded on noble principles, but it has lost its way. It has become rigid, hierarchical, and exploitative. She gestured to her officers standing behind her. "The Earth ship Defiance will be the first vessel of this coalition's protective fleet. Any world that wishes to join us is welcome." "You would fracture the galactic order," the Phyrexian High Counselor demanded. "No," Kim replied calmly. "We would restore balance to it."